Madam Chair, several things. Madam Secretary, I'm sorry. Social Security is going insolvent. The administration has not proposed anything to address the insolvency. Is there going to be a plan coming forward from the administration to address Social Security insolvency, which is, I think, 12 or 13 years away now, with all the implications of further delay makes it harder to address?
Well, so we gained 1 year in terms of the life of the Social Security fund, how long it continues to fund benefits. That was in the recent
Yes, but
Social
that's, if you take a
Security report.
75-year scoring, we've learned that it's going to be a $211 trillion deficit over 75 years. So saying that it's going to be extended 1 to 2 years seems almost, silly. No offense.
So I do believe this is something, it's certainly true that it's not sustainable on a 75-year basis, and this is something that Congress and the administration should address. This is not news, I would say. We've known about this for at least 30 years and have not taken steps to address it.
So you agree it's important to take those steps?
I do believe it's something we should do.
Let me move on. As regards the inflation, one variable that we can potentially impact is the price of oil and gas. Now, you've mentioned how it's an international market and there's some limit as to the impact of what we do locally. But that said, the administration has proposed decreasing tax incentives for the production of oil and gas. Now, if you decrease tax incentives, you're going to have less oil and gas produced. Now, that's going to intuitively decrease supply and contribute to that upward pressure. Does that make sense?
Well, over the medium term, we absolutely need to move to renewables and to
Now, but I'm speaking about right now. If we decrease tax incentives to produce, that will decrease supply. And yet the administration is proposing to do that. Well, I'll just make that point and then move on. Indeed, if we're going to speak about, I have a quote here, apparently one of the major problems with producing oil and gas right now is the cost of oil field services. And here's a quote from the CEO of Occidental. She says that the, quote unquote, the paraphrase, given how expensive drilling and oil field services have gotten, it's almost value destruction if you try to accelerate anything now. Now, what would you think about increasing the tax incentive to drill oil and gas, recognizing what the CEO of Occidental says, that the cost of oil field services are so great, it is value destruction to attempt to accelerate?
Well, prices are very high, in part because of, importantly, because of Russia's war on Ukraine. And I believe the incentives are certainly there to boost production, and that is something we need in the short run to
if we could make a case that, and I don't mean to be rude, I'm sorry, if we could make the case that increasing the incentive, increasing the tax credit for 3 to 5 years to offset the increased cost of oil field services could increase production, would that be something that should be entertained?
Well, look, I think it's profitable as it is. Prices have gone up a lot, and that helps to offset those costs, to help oil companies cover them. And so the price system is working and provides incentives.
Now, what we're trying to do is lower the cost. Well, let me just move on. We're in a situation right now as regards Russia and the price of oil, in which, because of the restrictions on purchasing Russian oil, their oil profits have increased. So they're selling less, but at a higher price. To say one more time, Russia now makes more money from oil and gas sales than it did before we began to apply sanctions. Now, the Europeans have considered coming together as a buying bloc to limit the price that we will pay, monopsony power, if you will. We'll pay the price of production, but no more. And so therefore, we don't pay the higher price at the pump, but they don't get the increased revenue. Is the administration participating in this? Are we taking the lead in this? Is this something that we would entertain?
Absolutely. Our objective is
So absolutely, we are involved in discussions to come up with a buyer's block that will not pay
Yes.
more than X amount?
Yes, we are.
Can you give a kind of assessment of where those negotiations are?
Extremely active.
Senator-
I think what we want to do is keep Russian oil flowing into the global market to hold down global prices and try to avoid a spike that causes a worldwide recession and drives up oil prices. But absolutely, the objective is to limit the revenue going to Russia, and the kind of strategy you suggest, there are different ways technically of accomplishing that, but it's certainly a desirable strategy
The time
to
of the
consider.
gentleman's expired.
Thank you.
Thank my colleague. Senator Cardin.